Hello, this is a quick tutorial on how to set up your gradebook for weighted grades. To set up your gradebook, click on the gear icon in the upper right hand corner and select Gradebook Setup. This is an example of a weighted gradebook. You can see I've got categories here. Moodle likes to call these folders Gradebook Categories, and each category has a different category of activities in it. For example, I've got assignments, quizzes, discussions, a research paper, exams, and ungraded items. To create a category in your Moodle gradebook, you can click Add a Category. You'll want to add this category for each part of your syllabus that has a collection of graded items in it. If something is a standalone item that has its own weight, it does not need to live in a category. I'm going to call this category Extra Credit. Down at the bottom of my gradebook setup, I have got my category here called Extra Credit. Now right now it's not worth anything and there's nothing in it. If there's something arbitrary that I want to add for my students as extra credit, I can add a grade item. You don't need to make a graded item for activities in Moodle because when you assign a grade to a Moodle activity, that activity automatically gets a column in the gradebook depending on how much it's worth in your settings. If there's something that they don't turn in on Moodle, you can add a grade item. You can name this grade item anything you want, anything that you want to give a score to. Attitude in class. You can make it worth however many points you want, and then you can put it into any category you want. I'm going to put this into the extra credit category. Now at the bottom of my screen, you can see that the attitude in class grade column is in my extra credit category. So making categories and making graded items is very easy. And again, you don't need to make a grade item if you already have points associated with it in a Moodle activity. For example, this is an assignment with a weekly online journal that's worth 100 points. It's important to note that everything in this category is worth 20% of the final grade. So whenever you make a category, you want to assign the weight to it. And all the weights need to add up to 100. So 20, 35, 45, 65, and then 100. As a point of clarity to your students, it's also advisable to make sure that the title of your category has the weight in it. So for example, my assignments is worth 20% of the final grade. I like to put 20% in the actual name of it so the students can visually see that everything in this folder or this gradebook category is worth 20% of the final grade. And I will do that throughout the whole gradebook. When you set up your gradebook in categories, you can do cool things like drop the lowest. So this quizzes is ready to drop the lowest value. Now, I'm going to be adding more quizzes to my Moodle course, so I need to make sure that when I add more quizzes that they go into this category. To set up dropping the lowest, I go to Edit Settings, Show More, and drop the lowest one. By default, it's set to 0, so I want to drop the lowest one. Save the changes. Moodle's very smart about this too. It will drop the lowest value for each of the students. And I can continue adding quizzes to that folder. Now you might have items in your gradebook that need to be moved around or be put in categories. To do that, you can use the checkboxes on the right. So here's a research paper upload here, due March 10th. I'm going to check this box. And then down at the bottom of my page here, I can move the selected item to my research paper category. So my research paper was in the wrong category. It was in my assignments category, and I needed to move it into the correct category. So if you've got a bunch of loose activities in your Moodle gradebook, you can make a bunch of categories and name them, and then you can use the checkboxes to move the appropriate activities into the appropriate categories. You can also see that I have a category called Ungraded Items, and these are activities in Moodle that might get a score, but they're worth 0% of the final grade. And of course, we built together one called Extra Credit. Right now, this is worth 0% of the final grade. To make it extra credit, I'll simply click on the settings and check the extra credit, and the weight will be the overall extra credit. So in parentheses, I might say plus 2%. So once this is here and I save changes, all of the weights will add up to 102%. Since this 2% is extra credit, it doesn't count towards the overall weight. Also, I can continue to add items into this extra credit if I want to do things in addition to my attitude and class grade column.